issue so that people that are taking these drugs on a daily basis as part of their meals would know the effect and why they should stop it. Okay, thank you very much, Parliamentarian Noye Idiong. But on the part of awareness and sensitization, just last week we had the leadership of the NDLEA in Akwa Ibom State speaking to us parliamentarians. And it's very clear how hard and how difficult life is. Yes, we know. But life itself, no matter how difficult it is, should not push you into drugs. Because face it, apart from the creative ones that we got to know last week, Nigerians have made out for themselves, you still need money to buy this drugs. So if you're unemployed, you're jobless, where are you getting the money to buy the drugs, to get high? That's the big question that we all need to answer. And yes, it is time for family values to be re-enthroned. It is time for parents to pay very keen attention to what their children are doing. It is saddening enough to know that even from the secondary school level, young boys and girls are into the habit of drugs. And of course, parents seem to not really know what their children are doing until it gets out of hand. Feel free to join the conversations on our Facebook page, Planet Radio 101.1 FM Uyo, and of course the number is 0902-223-1011 or 0817-624-8565. Campaign, of course, is starting with a work and is ending at the Ibom Hall grounds. But let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the People's Parliament.
Good morning.
Please, could you walk away from your radio set, parliamentarian? Okay, I think we lost connection there, but do well to try and connect us back, and when you do so, please walk away from your radio set or turn down the volume so that we can have civil conversations, as the holdbacks will not allow hosts to do that. But just as I was saying before, the parliamentarian came through to the floor of the House today, the NDLEA is having a work to commemorate the 2023 World Drugs and Trafficking in Persons Day. And of course, part of the activities lined up, as we were informed last week, is to create awareness and let Akwa Ibomites in particular across the different local government areas to understand that the job of the NDLEA is not just to arrest and prosecute drug users. They also have the aspect of helping, substance abusers to get cleaned and then rehabilitated and then reintegrated into the society. And that is one part that we have not paid attention to. It is one thing for people to take into drugs, is another thing for those people to know that they still have hope. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Good morning. My name is Mike, calling from Menace.
Welcome, Parliamentarian Mike. Go ahead.
I just want to speak this kind of issue of drugs, which I know are is concerning me a lot. I think the major problem is drugs because it's an ignorance, literacy, low self-esteem, and peer group influence. Anybody that's telling you that they are taking drugs because they are jobless is a lie. Because the ones I know to buy, they are very, very expensive to get. Take for instance, this one they got loud, 5,000, Golos, 2,000, all those things. Somebody that is jobless cannot afford it. My suggestion is this. Like there's a place I stay in Akwa Ibom. I will not mention the name. My brother, the rate at which is half mad people, young guys that are misbehaving as a result of this drug is alarming. I think the problem of that is at the landlord, community leaders. Before, while growing up, I know the smoke is inside bush. But these days, the smoke is in the house, in the street. And this landlord, the community leaders, they are seeing those boys taking it, having anything. If government can declare emergency on that or set up a tax live in the state. I don't know, this state is somehow very, very, as in, it's very common. You see people smoking it around everywhere, doing it as in, without shame, without respect, all those things. Even if they want to do, let them go inside the bush or in a hidden place, not in the street, where small people, young boys, young girls, the fans are living. And the landlords, the community leaders are saying that they are not saying anything. Why? Why? Because those who say smoking at their children. This government has set up a committee, task force, or let it be as a state of emergency on that. This could just have this. If you can tell privacy, if the way I'm staying as you see many people, young guys, but they are mad, mentally not stable, behaving, the smoke don't.
All right, thank you very much, parliamentarian. Yes, indeed, the dangers of taking to drug is very grave, and that's something that cannot be overemphasized. And like a parliamentarian just said, most young people are going mad because they have failed to understand the dangers that substance abuse poses. And of course, as we were told by the NDLEA deputy commander in Akwa Ibom State last week, is still trying to make a connections with them to get the update on today's event and what they have to tell Akwa Ibomites as we mark officially the 2023 World Drugs Day. And of course, once we're able to get them on the phone, we'll definitely bring them onto the floor of the plenary. But of course, it's very important for us to know that drug abuse, substance abuse is in nowhere healthy for the society. Gone are those days where we used to see things and everybody speak against it. It seems these days everybody's to your tent or Israel. But then, when you yourself are guilty, where will you now find the moral competence to now approach the next person and then bring about advice that will bring about change in the society? Parliamentarian in Ibom, P. Inyang says, "Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I would like to advise Governor Moino to maintain free and fair, credible elections in the state." Okay, that's an advice to the governor of Akwa Ibom State. Of course, we hope to see that happening in the forthcoming election. And please, like the governor has said, there is no announcement from the state government prompting Akwa Ibomites to the fact that local government council elections will be coming up anytime soon. And so it's very important that we all get to understand that. But then, let's look at parliamentarian Samuel Iwuk. Says, "Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Apart from zoning of local government position, I think..." Okay, parliamentarian, please resend. Your comment is coming in a way that I can't read the type font, but please try and send that comment back, and then I'll be sure to take it on the floor of the People's Parliament. Let's head back to the phone lines, and the number still is 0902-223-1011 or 017-624-8565. And in case you just joined us on the floor of the People's Parliament today, we are talking about drug abuse and the people understanding the scourge and the role of advocacy groups in curbing the menace. We're also talking about Nigerians' reactions to Disco's insistence on July 1st increase on electricity tariff. We'd like to particularly hear how the electricity supply is in your area, how much you're paying for electricity, and how you think this is going to affect you in the instance or the event that Disco increases its electricity tariff, and of course what you think should be done. Yes, some Nigerians are advocating for the prepaid and postpaid meters to be given, but we got a parliamentarian who called in to say yes, despite getting the prepaid meter, you're still being defrauded directly and indirectly. And I said earlier on that it's about time for us to take the responsibility of actually holding service providers accountable by, using the options of the court where you have evidence you're being defrauded. Until we have those kinds of scenarios played out in Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom State, the truth of the matter is these people will not, take away or move away from such illegal or criminal activities as alleged by parliamentarians and some Akwa Ibomites. conversations, and of course, hoping that the network will be fair to us. We'll be trying to connect with Barrister Clifford, who is going to help us navigate through what the NDLA is doing today as a way of creating awareness for the larger society as far as the drug is concerned. Hello, Barrister. Welcome to the People's Parliament.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Speaker, fellow parliamentarians and listeners. Good morning.
All right, so we know that as at yesterday, following a discussion last week, today the NDLEA will be having its March and Awareness campaign as far as drug and substance abuse is concerned. I'd like to know, today is the day officially where we are celebrating that the world over. And just earlier on, some parliamentarians have alleged that part of the reasons we are having the high rate of drug substance abuse is because the community, the religious leaders, and indeed the government has failed. But I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Well, I didn't quite get the question, but when you talk of religious leaders, I don't know. The religious leaders are supposed to help in educating the public worshippers. Then when we say government, I wouldn't say government, I would say politicians. A lot of politicians have their hangers on as boys when they give more money to buy drugs. And they use these drugs and illicit substances to change their body chemistry to enable them to act in a manner that will bring answers to what they call the politicians actually need. Now, I will put the blame fully of politicians on parents and religious leaders because they are all supposed to work in tandem to ensure that the incidence of drug and substance abuse is reduced. Unfortunately, most of them are not actually performing, doing what they are supposed to do. What do you expect of a parent who is also a drug addict? Will he have the moral high standing to tell his child not to be involved? No, he would not. What about some religious leaders who are also involved in cultism and drugs? They may not have the moral high standing to tell their worshippers not to be involved. But in the larger majority of religious leaders, I can say are non-users of drugs and substances. So they should be able to educate the youth, the men, the women, the various strata of their worshippers not to be involved in drug and illicit substance use. So that they walk squarely on the shoulders of everyone, including me, you, and every other person on the street. We are all potential victims of drug substance abuse. So we must jointly fight it together.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister. We still have a lot to talk about, but we'll take a short pause and head out to bring the news update at 9:30. When we come back from a second recess, we'll reconnect and take this to a logical conclusion. Please stay with us.
At 101.1 FM and don't touch the dial.
With the BBC and now BBC News.
BBC News. Anti-terror measures remain in place in Moscow, a day after a short-lived rebellion by the Wagner mercenary group. The group's advance on the capital was the biggest challenge yet in Russia to President Putin's authority. The whereabouts of Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, are still unclear. An agreement was announced on Saturday for him to move to Belarus. Ukrainian officials say 5 people are now known to have died in a Russian air attack on Kiev on Saturday. Shelling by Russian forces has continued in the eastern Donbass and Zaporizhia regions. The Indian Army says it's released 12 suspected rebels from a banned ethnic group. It said the insurgents were caught with arms and ammunition, but soldiers trying to detain them were surrounded by a crowd of more than 1,000 people. Polls open shortly in Guatemala, where voters will choose a new president. Key issues ahead of the vote have been corruption and mass migration. Greece is holding its second general election in 5 weeks. The vote was called after the party of the former Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, narrowly failed to secure an outright majority. Israel's Prime Minister has criticised a call by his far-right National Security Minister for Jewish settlers to expand settlements in the occupied West Bank. Benjamin Netanyahu said calls for the illegal seizure of territory were unacceptable. Russian airstrikes in northern Syria have killed at least 11 people and injured around 30 others. The attacks appear to have been in retaliation for drone strikes blamed on rebel fighters. An accident at an amusement park in the Swedish capital Stockholm has left 1 person dead and others injured. Eyewitnesses say a roller coaster at Gröna Lund Park derailed. BBC News.
The world in 2 minutes.
Parliament live on Planet 101.1 FM, and of course, in case you just joined us, today we're looking at Akwa State Governor Pastor Umoina, who has spoken on the consultation move by local government chairman and councillor aspirants, and has maintained that the party zoning will stand as groups have begun to agitate for leadership in local government councils. We're also talking about drug abuse and the people understanding the scourge and the role of advocacy groups in curbing the menace. And of course, Nigerians react to this call insistent on July 1st increase on electricity tariff. Shortly before we head out on our second pause, we were having conversations with Barrister Clifford, and of course talking about the NDLEA and the aspirants movement today to mark the World Drug Abuse and Substance Abuse Day, and of course trafficking in persons. Of course, the number to join the conversation is 0902-223-101-1017 624-8565. And before, if you joined us earlier, it also informed us we will be having the project officer from the Drug Free and Preventive Healthcare Organization also to talk to us on the place of advocacy and other related issues bordering on drug. She is Favor Umo in I hope I got that correct. Yeah, Favor Umo, welcome to the People's Parliament. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay. Good morning. How was your journey?
I would say it was terrible.
Oh my goodness! All right. Well, good to have you. Finally, you're able to make it down here. That is okay. But let's quickly talk about drug abuse and the people, and of course, understanding the scourge of the menace. How is okay? Let's start from the very basics. When we say drug abuse, what does it mean?
Okay, drug abuse, it means someone using drug out of prescription. Drug abuse does not really mean using of illicit drug. People can also abuse illicit drug. Like for example, if I have a problem and me self-prescription, and after self-prescription, I also like maybe I'm getting used to, okay, let me use myself for example. There was a time I was having I was not able to eat, and then I need something to make me eat. So that is a process of drug abuse, because I'm using this drug on daily basis to be able to eat food without doctor's prescription. So that is just drug abuse, and then that is the illicit one, and then going to talk about the illicit one.
Okay, so talking about persons who can actually abuse drugs that is prescribed by doctors or professionals, that's what you say?
Yes.
Okay, so apart from that, which other aspect, the other aspect is of substance abuse, cocaine, talk about heroin, talk about Indian hemp, or what they call cannabis, sativa, and all of those.
Okay. How it affects our community? Of course, it affects our community. Consumption of those illicit drug use, consumption of those substances, it enhances violence. It causes rape. It's because people have to, people that are even robbery, people who rob, people who commit those crimes, they'll have to take this drug for them to be able to maybe have that morale, like have that mind to commit those crimes. So it's really a problem in our society.
Okay, now you're from a group that has been involved in advocacy campaign, talking about creating awareness. So how has that been going so far?
Okay, it's going on well. My organization, and together with other sisters organization, even the NDLA, who has really been on the front of it. So making advocacy to different organizations, even to primary and secondary school. Those adolescents and young adults are at risk of involving in drug use. So we make advocacy together with Akwa State Drug Control Committee, advocacy to primary and secondary school to be able to reduce or even stop drug initiation among adolescents and young adults.
Okay, so how has the response been from the school level, and then how has the support been from the relevant agencies?
Okay, it's really been going on well. It's really been going on well. Before now, we're actually in Nigeria, we're actually like arresting and detaining people who use drugs. But since the advocacy has begun, people has really changed perception that people who use drugs are people that should be drawn closer to ourselves, people that need support, people that are sick and really need help, not to just arrest. So advocacy to all these also make people, general public, to understand drug use, because most people did not understand. Even me, before I came into the program, I didn't really know. I was just thinking that drug abuse is just usage of illicit drugs like that. But making advocacy even in secondary school, students, adolescents have got to understand the measures and ways that they could stay without using drugs, and also understand drugs that are not supposed to be consumed.
Okay, just before you came in, parliamentarians were of the opinion that the society, the church, the religious leaders, the traditional rulers, and even the government has failed. I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Has failed?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, government failing in the sense of, I would say it's just in the sense of maybe arresting and detaining drug use, and then should I say, yes, compulsory treatment, because it's supposed to be consensual. Someone using drug doesn't mean that person do not have rights to say yes or to say no. he or she is like she has autonomy, like she has the right to say I would take treatments or not. But in some government agency, they make it compulsory for people who use drugs to receive treatment. At the end of it, it might not be successful. You know what I'm not determined to do, I will not do it successfully. But when I'm determined to say, oh, I want to stop, let me look at how I'm going to reduce my intake, and then stopping it will make me stop. That is in the part of the government. And in the part of religious leaders, I would say that maybe they need to really understand drug use, because some youth. So let me not even say youth. Some people really they have this respect for. We have this respect for godfathers, for pastors. So it's in the place of pastors to understand that some people use drug. At the end of using drug, they'll attribute it to maybe witchcrafty or something. So it is in the place of the religious leaders to tell them this is it, and involving them in advocacy to also help.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take a pause here and head out to take some more calls and comments from parliamentarians. And, of course, the number to join the conversation is 0902-217-624-8565. And don't forget, we'll try to reconnect again with Barrister Clifford. And as soon as we can do that, we'll bring him to the floor of the People's Parliament. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the floor of the House.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome, parliamentarian.
Good morning, everybody. This is active in Parliament, TMC forever. Well, I was still listening, even though I was busy on something more important. And listen, this one is important for the whole world, because Planet FM is not just ordinary. Well, only God would tell what is going on there. Because if I try to continue to say, people may not understand me. I've just heard the lady talking about drugs, and the other speaker too mentioned that most of the clergymen are even guilty of it, which is very sad. And I have to comment. Things have been happening in my generation, but I wouldn't have expected it to happen in Akwa among the clergies. And it's a very sad thing. Not to talk of going elsewhere outside the footsteps of Jesus, but getting involved into celebrations like just drug things and other things like that is a very sad thing. Why I have to be speaking about Canada and Arise, thank God for the present governor is also picking it in English so that our people know and come out of this to become what God has created us to become. Do you know how much? Well, when I just sacrificed, people may not understand. I had to offer the best tested in the without me. Why? Because some people, religious leaders, took the money which is the former governor gave to them to give to them to come. But actually, to them, none of them is able to return that money or to say, no, to give to some of the people.
All right, Robert Parliamentarian.
This is the problem, and it stopped me. And sometimes there's so much make themselves and get themselves involved, even in the government.
Thank you very much. Of course, it's time for us to move away from sentiment, and of course, as religious leaders, do a part. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning, parliamentarian.
Good morning, other parliamentarians. Thank you for having me to this plenary. I'm Comrade in Mr. Speaker. On the issue of drug abuse, let me commend the guest for bringing another angle to it. It's not only uses of illegal or illicit drugs, but people can also misuse normal drugs, taking prescription they don't understand, or drugs that are not prescribed by the doctor, like the guest said. Sometimes you see some people taking some drugs in order to eat or in order to sleep, and they begin to get used to it without taking those drugs. They don't do these things. So I think people should learn from it. And on the use of illicit drugs, I think drug law enforcement agencies should also work at blocking the free flow of these illicit drugs into the society. Because easy access to these drugs makes use to be able to use them. Because even though you have money and you don't have way to get it, you won't use it. But today they are being sold free. You go like AKTC here, where they call Nasarawa, where not Nasa. You go there, they are selling drugs openly. And even if security men there guiding that place. So I think we should look at this. Find especially on the planned increase in electricity tariffs by 40%, is rather very, very disturbing. Mr. Speaker, even with poor and epileptic power supply across the country, they are still planning to increase the price of electricity by 40%. If I may ask, Mr. Speaker, are they increasing the price of darkness? Because instead of thinking on how to improve electricity generation and distribution to Nigerians, for what Nigerians are currently paying, they are applying this humongous increase. For the past 2 months, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that I've been using my generator in order to have light. So I believe this power sector in this country needs to be looked at critically. I'm Comrade Mr. Striker. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much, Parliamentarian Striker, for joining us. Very valid concerns raised there. And of course, that's still the questions that Nigerians are asking. What are we paying for? Why don't we look at, reviving the sector? Why don't we look at ensuring that quality services are offered to the Nigerian society? Why don't we look at providing prepaid and postpaid meters so that we can all know the quantity of light that we are paying for is actually what we are consuming? But going back to our Facebook page, Parliamentarian ESV Edidion will be accessed. Good morning, Planet FM, Mr. Speaker. Welcome to a brand new day. The tragedy that struck when the medical students were on tour of water in Road Calabar, that 3 people are still unaccounted for as we speak. If the story that the boat was leaking before this journey is visible and true, which I also believe it's true, taking into consideration how we manage everything in Nigeria, even at the detriment of our lives, the management of the boat company should be probed and prosecuted immediately if found guilty. Drivers are driving with bad tires, and even when the conditions of the car isn't good, they'll still take it to the road in the name of making money and putting the lives of the passengers in danger. It's sad, but God bless Nigeria. That's coming from Parliamentarian ESV Edidion Obiak. Parliamentarian Samuel Iwo says, good morning, Mr. Speaker. Zoning is important and it will bring equity and fairness to the local government system. But I think Akisiak should also conduct a free, fair and credible election, and not a kind of election that only one party will win all the seats. We want to see election and not selection. We want to have a robust, competent, functional and effective local government system, even without autonomy. That's coming from Parliamentarian Samuel Iwook. Still on our Facebook page, Parliamentarian Dan Victor says, good morning, Mr. Speaker. Concerning the local government election that is coming up, I just pray this current governor will allow the people to choose their respective leaders rather than imposing strange people on them. That's coming from Parliamentarian Dan Victor. Thank you very much for joining us. Truly appreciate it. But let me come back to the floor of the House and the resource person, the project officer from a drug-free and preventive healthcare organization, Favor Umoina. Okay, let's go back to talking about drugs abuse. It's no longer a new thing that everybody, almost around the different street corners, we are seeing people who are abusing drugs. In the prospect of your advocacy, are you looking at a situation where, this awareness campaign is taking past just the facial level to the integral part of the society?
Yes, we are looking past that, involving even the community of people who use drugs, not just making an advocacy to the general public and even to the policymakers. We are also making advocacy to include people who use and abuse drugs.
Okay, so what is the role of the community in all of this? Because if we don't get everybody on board, then success might not be achieved. So what is this message gets to everybody who needs to hear them?
Okay, the role of the parent, let's start from there, is just good parenting, understanding your child, having understanding of the relationship your child is having. Also, avoiding school dropout. A child that is dropped out of school has a higher tendency of engaging in drug use. So to the parents who advise to understand your child, look at the signs, look at how to talk to your child, know everything you have to know about drug use. Educate your child on drugs. Let them know what drugs is. Let them know how to resist it. Let them even know how to say no to some friends that may want to get them involved in drug use, and even to the general public. We could also, an elderly person even in the society, apart from being related to a particular child biologically, you can as well counsel a child who is going, who is maybe engaging in drug use. Then I would say that early intervention is very necessary I would say that early intervention is very necessary in controlling and coping drug use. The society would also be helpful by, providing safe space, by providing interventions that are consensual, by providing community-based treatment centers for people who use and abuse drugs.
Okay, but before we let you go, we're about wrapping up our conversations. The children who use these drugs need some level of advice and counseling. So within the confines of your awareness, what are the things you do to help the children understand the need to do away from drugs?
Okay, first, understanding drugs. Educating parents, educating teachers, taking the messages even to secondary and primary schools to educate a parent and teachers on drug use, and also getting those children to know what drug is and how they should abstain themselves from it.
Okay, so before we let you go, what would be your word of advice to Nigerians, Akwa Ibomites, as we celebrate this year's Drugs Abuse Day?
Okay, my advice would be that at first, let's prevent everyone, beginning from adolescents and young adults, which is at the stage of because of the peer pressure and let me say environmental factors that put them at risk of abusing drugs. We, the general public, should really be concerned about children. And also people that are already using drugs. Of course, there is no way for us to push them to and say, oh, go maybe to the river and leave our society. We have to look for a way of bringing back, we have to look for a way that they could cope with their drug use, reduce it to minimal, and even stopping it finally. And what are these ways? By linking them to service centers, to treatment centers. Some of these people use drugs without even knowing the implication of it. So first, to educate the general public, including people that are using drugs. I've had in contact with someone that have been using a whole lot of drugs, but did not even know anything about it. She told me that she started using drugs just because, okay, her friend was telling her. And when I started educating her on it, the effect of which, she was like, wow, oh, go. I've been killing myself all this while. So it is very, very important to educate the general public on drug use.
All right, thank you very much. We've been a wonderful moment having these conversations with you. And of course, talking about drug abuse, I do like to believe that people have heard and will take heed. We've been having the privilege of speaking with Favor Umoina, Project Officer at Drug Free and Preventive Healthcare Organization. Of course, we also had conversations with Barrister Clifford, talking about the NDLEA event that is happening today at Ibom Hall. So if you're a parent, if you're a guardian, a pastor, a community leader, you're invited to be part of the event where awareness is being created on the issue of drug abuse in Akwa Ibom State. Let's help encourage our young ones to stay off drugs so that we can have a better, safer society. My name is Francis, the Speaker of the People's Parliament, wishing you a very beautiful week. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless Akwa Ibom State. From me to you is bye-bye.